This is the second in a series about a book coach getting a book coach. And I wanted to share that I had my first meeting with my book coach about the blueprint book that I spoke about for Blueprint for Memoir. But the secret that I didn't share is that I'm writing two books at the same time. And that's another reason I hired a book coach is I wanted to write these two books at the same time for a very specific reason. One of the books, the Blueprint for Memoir, is one I kind of am really dreading writing. It's going to be very difficult to write this book well. And the reason is that the blueprint books require a lot of examples from writers, and it's really hard to get people to share their memoir work in progress. It's usually they're very vulnerable. They're writing about things that are very private to them, and they're very nervous about sharing. And so I just know it's going to be a hard thing to get this book right. I also know the topic of memoir, it's the third book in the memoir series for a reason. People have been asking me about this book for a long time. I did fiction first, and then I did nonfiction, and now I'm doing memoir. And I did them in that order because, believe it or not, I think that's the order that it is most difficult to coach in. I think it's more difficult to coach nonfiction than fiction because nonfiction involves a whole lot of marketplace positioning and awareness that fiction writing doesn't. In fiction writing, you need to know your genre, you need to know the landscape of that particular kind of book, but you don't really need to have a hardcore marketing and strategy plan the way that you do for nonfiction. A nonfiction proposal requires a very robust platform and marketing plan. So it's harder. There's more to think about. There's more to guide the writer on. There's more to understand. Memoir, I think, is the hardest of all three. And the reason that that's true is that there's so much going on in memoir writing. There's the writer, there's the narrator, there's the form that has all different ways that it could go. The form of a memoir can veer into fiction, it can veer into nonfiction, it can veer into this idea of memoir plus, which is a story plus research and reporting. There's so many different decisions that are going to take that book or have the potential to take that book in a different direction. I've coached memoir for a long time, and I've seen it, I've lived it, I know it, and I know it's just harder. It's just harder to coach. You have to be thinking in your head all the elements of fiction and all the elements of nonfiction come into play. It's juicy, it's meaty, it's tough. And so I was kind of dreading writing the blueprint book. I knew it was going to be hard. And that was another reason that I hired a book coach is help me with the hard thing. But I piggybacked this other book idea onto it because I've been a little obsessed with this other idea. And I'm going to be deliberately vague about this other idea because I haven't pinned it down yet. But it is a book about the creative process in a more global way than a how-to book. It is a bigger idea about creativity. And it was a book that I'm really excited to write. And I'm kind of, it's like candy, it's like dessert. I want to write this. I want to get to it. I want to figure it out. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to tie together the book that's going to be that I'm sort of dreading with this book that I'm really excited about, and I'm going to move each of them forward at the same time. I'm going to kind of do the project simultaneously. That's what I thought was going to work best for me. So the book coach that I hired is going to be helping me with both of those projects at the same time, which may sound a little nuts, but it's what I knew I needed. And it is not totally unheard of for other writers to do that. I often have people come to me who want to write multiple books at the same time, and they either have to choose or they have to do what I'm doing and do them at the same time. So that's a little bit of the background of the two books I'm writing. But what happened at this first coaching session with my book coach just blew my mind, and it was so cool and it was so powerful. And so I wanted to share it because it's part of the thing that a book coach does at the beginning of a project. It's the value that we bring, which is huge in the beginning of a project. If you can keep the writer from writing, if you can get them before they have put anything on the page, you can help them so enormously. And it's exactly what the blueprint was designed to do. And it's what the blueprint did for me with these two books, because I did the blueprint for the blueprint book of Memoir. And I also did a blueprint for this other book. So I have these two blueprints. And what my book coach helped me see was the reason why I was dreading the memoir book so much. And she also made me see that the reason I was having trouble figuring out the other book was that I was thinking of it in the same way. I was thinking of it like a how-to self-help book for writers, which the blueprints are. But this other book is not. This other book is something different. It's going to require a different approach, a different tone, a different structure, a different everything. And my book coach helped me see the difference between these two projects. What I was able to just articulate to you about why I was dreading the memoir book, I wasn't able to articulate before. I just was sort of thinking, ugh, this is going to be hard. I want to do it. I need to do it. It's going to be good to do it. People are asking me for it, like all the things. But I just had this kind of undefined dread. And I had this undefined excitement about this other one. And she helped me see how they were different and why this was so. And that clarity unlocked everything for me. It was kind of amazing. Once I understood why I dreaded the the memoir book so much. And by the way, that's part of the blueprint. Is part of the questioning is, why are you doing this? Why do you think you're the right person to do this? What are you bringing to it? What are your goals? All those questions come out in the blueprint, and they came out for me when I did it. All this dread came out, and she was able to say, okay, let's talk about why you're dreading that. And so having this clarity just all of a sudden made me feel a sense of freedom around these projects. And it was crazy. I all of a sudden I made so much progress on the memoir blueprint project because I understood what was hard. I understood why I was bringing this sense of dread to the project. I understood why it could be good. There was just so much clarity around it that it unlocked something for me, and I've made massive progress on that book. And that was the one that I thought was going to be lagging behind the other. I thought the other was going to be sort of pulling this one along. But in fact, that blueprint project has kind of taken on its own energy and its own life. And it's the other book that is proving to be more difficult, which is fascinating. And the clarity that my book coach brought around that project is why I thought it was going to be easy and why it's proving to be hard, because it's a very different kind of writing than I do in developing curriculum for book coaches and writers. It is a different, I have a different concept. I have a different thing I want to do. It's a different intention. And she helped me to see that. She's helping me to define that. So I am still circling around on the blueprint with that book, while the blueprint on the other got done quite quickly. And I'm an unusual test subject for doing the blueprint for a book, because I made the framework. I've written 2 books about it. I'm going to get through the blueprint fast with a coach helping me and guiding me. That is, I mean, that would be expected. Most writers are not going to get through it as fast as I did. It was only just 2 sessions on that blueprint for Memoir, and we just knew we had it. It was like, yep, this is it. This is the framework. There's a couple of things that I've got to figure out and I got to noodle on, but I'm going to do that through the writing. We did I'm trying to think, was it an inside outline or an outcome outline? It was kind of a combination of both that we did for it, and it's solid and it's strong and it's good. So I knew I could jump in and start that project. Whereas this other one, I got to spend more time on the blueprint, because what the blueprint is showing is I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not ready and it's not there yet. So I'm going to be noodling more on that, sharing that with my coach and hoping getting clarity on that one. But it was just fascinating case test of the blueprint and of working with a book coach, and just how much power the clarity that somebody else can bring to your creative projects, how much power it is and how motivating and inspiring it is. It's just, I never cease to be amazed and delighted by it. Whether I'm coaching or writing, it's all just so good.